Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Watching the Boxes Fantasy Basketball Podcast, hosted by draft.com, where you can go right now and play your first free game by signing up for draft.com by using the promo code BOXES. That's right, you will get a free game if you sign up using our promo code BOXES. And we're also sponsored by #basketball.com. for all your fantasy basketball tooling needs. I'm your host, Mike Catron, and joining me, as always, is Tyler Watts. What's up, Tyler?
Oh, not much, Michael. How are you today?
I'm not doing too bad. The Bulls are on the hottest winning streak in the Eastern Conference, other than like two other teams. And this I don't think they're ever going to lose another game now that Nico Mirotic is back.
All they needed was the Nico and Bobby pairing, huh? That's all it took.
I'm telling you, if you look at the advanced stats when they play together, it's a pretty good combo, surprisingly.
I have nothing to say about the Bulls. I'm not gonna lie to you.
Yeah, well, they need to start losing again because this cannot continue. They cannot just keep winning games and hope to tank and get a good draft pick. So it's fun to watch and also devastating to see.
I'm with you there.
So let's get right into the thick of things. There's a lot going on. First off, rumor. I'm a little surprised by this one, actually. It's not a rumor, actually. It's just the truth. Jabari Parker is apparently reporting to G League practice. I was real surprised with I thought Jabari Parker had quite a bit before he would be back into the swing of things. What's your take on this news? Is this just he's going to go practice with them and he's still not ready to go, or should we be taking notice of Jabari Parker and picking him up in any league that he's available in?
Well, I mean, even last month they were saying he was practicing with the team, and you were thinking to yourself, like, well, what does that mean? Like, is he just shooting on the side, or
is he playing against a chair?
Yeah, like, what is the case with that? So now they sent him down to the G League, but all reports are that he's still going to return in February, right? So, I mean, I don't think they have any reason to lie to us. And do they really have any reason to rush him back? Like, as long as they make the playoffs, I mean, they're going to have a chance in that Eastern Conference, and I don't really see any reason to rush him back if he's not fully healthy. But you got to like the sign that he's already playing even practicing in the G League. Like, if he's doing full contact practices, you got to think that he should be able to return in a few weeks if he wanted to.
Yeah, I'm actually really surprised that the word is that he's still going to come back in February. If you can stash him, obviously do it. I think if you have an IR spot, and let's not throw a parade for Jabari Parker. Jabari Parker is not a top 20 player. Jabari Parker is a very good scorer, but how he will fit into this kind of new look Bucks team with Bledsoe and the incredibly dominant Giannis, and you got Chris Middleton, who really wasn't around very much last year when Parker was healthy enough to play. And really, I'm not really sure what role he's going to play on this team. You would assume he's going to get into the starting lineup, right? But, I mean, is there any worry that he's not going to have the playing time that he did last year?
I don't think so. I think even in the worst case, he fits in as like a six-man scorer type. I'm not too worried about Jabari once he gets on the court. It's just, when does he get on the court is the big question.
Yeah, with all the signs pointing towards a quicker return than possible, I would probably say into January would be what I would think is going to actually happen. But like you said, there's no rush here. They're still winning games. You don't really want to rush a player like Jabari Parker back who's had multiple injuries. And also, like I said, fantasy-wise, he's a standard league player, but He's not an exciting standard league player.
Oh yeah, I'm with you there. I mean, I think at his peak, he's probably like a top maybe 50 player. And I don't think we're going to see him at his peak this year. It's just crazy to me that they're already letting him play 5-on-5, even in practice. I mean, it just seems like it's really soon for this ACL injury, but if he's healthy enough to do it, I guess.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like didn't Zach LaVine get hurt after him
I believe that is the case,
or
yes.
before him? It's hard to remember all those injuries that happened last year. Um, Too bad the Bulls didn't trade for Jabari Parker. They could have an entire injured team. That'd be great. So keep an eye out on Jabari Parker's status moving forward. Speaking of keeping an eye out on people's status, Mike Connolly, his Twitter status, not that great. But also, he's out for another 2 weeks. He continues to get treatment on his looks like his Achilles here, and this is just lingering and continuing to really put a damper in all the people who own Mike Connolly this year.
I mean, we talked about this when he first got hurt, right? That these Achilles injuries, like, there's no set time that they're going to heal up, and this could be something that nags him the rest of the way. And a partial strain of that Achilles is also like a very strange thing because you don't want it to get a torn Achilles. And I mean, that's basically the death nail in a lot of players' careers. So I don't expect to see Conley rush back anytime soon. And I wouldn't be surprised if he missed another couple months.
Yeah, and that's pretty depressing, but like the Grizzlies aren't going anywhere. So it makes no sense for them to rush back someone who they paid a butt ton of money to just to get injured and then be out for the rest of his career. I pretty much think he's going to do something similar to what you said, where he's just not going to come back till he's ready because there's no need for him. There's not like they need him to win games right now. It just doesn't matter in Memphis. So we'll have to keep an eye on that as well. Who do you think returns first? No, go ahead.
Remember, we saw this at the end of the year 2 years ago, in 2015, 2016. Like, they were like, oh, Mike Conley will be back in a week. And then a week turned into two, and two turned into three, and three turned into four. And they even made the playoffs that year, and I don't think he played at all.
Yeah, I do remember that. And it was kind of, I think, a really good level set for an injury like this. Like, these things linger, and they're just not great. And it's going to kill you. If you own Mike Connolly, what are you doing?
Well, I mean, what can you do at this point? I mean, if you have an IR spot, sure, stash him. If I need the games in a head-to-head league, and especially if it's a shallow one, I would probably drop Mike Conley at this point and just search for anything on the waiver wire that can help me win some weeks.
Is it worth trying to look for someone like, 40 cents on the dollar kind of trade?
I mean, it all depends on the league, right? Like, if you can get a top 100 player for Mike Conley, I'd probably do that at this point.
Yeah, I think you could still. I mean, he's got great name recognition, and you might be able to trick someone in giving up an okay player for Mike Connolly, especially someone at the bottom of your league who's like looking to make a move. And this is a risky move, right? Especially someone with an Achilles injury. But if you hit right, if you trade for Mike Connolly with one of your mid-low tier players, like lower, like bench players, and you get Mike Connolly back, and Mike Connolly for the second half of the season is old Mike Connolly, you just made out like a bandit. So this could be a risk to be taken, I think, both ways.
Yeah, I hear you there. I mean, if you need to make a move, you could obviously. I mean, we talked about this. What was it, last week? I think that if you're in dead last in a league, this is maybe the kind of guy you take a shot on and look to make a move. The problem is with 2 more weeks now. I mean, you're 2 more weeks further in the hole then.
Yep. It's and we're starting to get into every week's starting to matter territory. You should be right now adjusting your team for the rest of the year. You should be trying to figure out at least what you're going to do for the next 2 months, what you're weak at, what you're good at, and really target players that are going to help you. I think a lot of people really fail to use the waiver wire properly. I think a lot of people don't look at the weakness in their team, and they just stream off the waiver wire. They don't go, all right, well, I have a decent player, or a couple decent players, but they don't fit my actual team structure. I'm killing people in assists, and I have more guards on the bench than I need. Trade, package those guys up, trade them to someone who doesn't get good assists, and then bring someone on your team off the waiver wire who's undervalued based on what you're not good at. It's all about winning all those categories. And I think a lot of people fail to do the simple math and saying, hey, I know this guy's ranked 80th, but to me personally on my team, he's the 140th player because I don't need his skills. So let's move him to someone who needs his skills, who ranks him even higher than 80 based on what their team makeup is.
With you there.
Let's talk about someone else who returned, or well, I guess Mike Conley did not return, but this guy, he returned to the court tonight, bringing the Bulls to their 6th win in a row. That's Lauri Markkanen. I was kind of curious to see how Lauri Markkanen, Nico Mirotic, and Bobby Portis would all play together. And, of course, being Fred Hoiberg, it was a weird rotation. And for some reason, Lauri Markkanen did not come back into the game until there was about 3.5 minutes left in the game. He started the game. He played 25 minutes tonight, but he wasn't shooting that great. And so I wonder if that was just a Fred being Fred, playing the hot hand kind of move, leaving Bobby Portis in, even though Bobby Portis wasn't that hot anyway. Portis played 22. Lauri played 25. Nico played only 26 minutes. Nico Mirotic probably had one of the best games I've ever seen him play all around. Not fantasy wise. I think he said better fantasy games, but he had a hell of a fantasy game too. But he was everywhere on the court. He looks amazing this year. If he's available in your league, pick him up right now. He had 22 points, 13 rebounds, 2 assists, a steal, and a block, and 3 3-pointers in 26 minutes. But it looks like they're sharing those minutes right now. Any comment on this front court rotation?
Well, first things first, I think that the plan was to only play Markkanen in 25 minutes coming off that back injury. Right, wrong, good, bad, indifferent. We won't talk about that. I think that was why they used up a lot of the minutes early, and I think that they brought him in so late was they really only wanted him to play around 25 minutes tonight, fresh off that back injury. As far as Mirotic goes, under Fred, he's played 24.9 and 24 minutes a night. I think Mirotic, I would not be surprised to see him play right around that again. It just seems like that's what Fred wants to do with Mirotic, even though we know Mirotic is a better player than that.
Yeah, and I mean, we said it before the season. We said it before Nico came back, and we're saying it again right now. Even in 26 minutes, Nico Mirotic is a very good fantasy player. Now, he's playing out of his mind right now, but he can do this. This isn't a fluke. We've seen Nico Mirotic put up these types of numbers before. This is probably as good as he's going to play, so he'll have his ups and downs like he always does. He has been historically a streaky player, though he's not standing in the corner waiting for Jimmy Butler to pass him the ball. So, maybe he is going to be a little bit more consistent, considering they're getting the ball to him a lot more. They're running a lot more plays for him, which is really good to see. Nico not just being a guy standing in a corner, but actually playing basketball. He's a must own, in my opinion, in any league.
I don't disagree.
I want to talk about another Bull, though. And this guy's really turned it on lately. We've talked about it a little bit before, but let's in our last episode we did a kind of a rest of the year. So if you haven't checked that out, go listen to the last episode. We picked a handful of players that were either interesting, who had good starts, and we want to know if they were for real, or guys who were underrated, undervalued, or even not even standard league value, who might end up with standard league value for the rest of the year. So go check that out. And I think one of the guys we did not talk about, though, and we probably should have, is Chris Dunn. Chris Dunn has been pretty great over the last couple weeks. He's averaging in the last 7 games 17 points, 5 rebounds, 7 assists, 2 steals, shooting 46% from the field. Is this guy for real? I think earlier in the year I said, hey, if they're gonna play someone starters minutes, and it makes most sense to get when Chris Dunn gets back, which was a long time ago when he was out, that he should be the starter, and he's been starting for about a month right now, and he really does seem to be coming in to his own.
Yeah, I mean, he's this kind of specific type of own. I mean, anyone getting 2 steals a game is worth owning. Um, the percentages obviously are not going to be good, so you got to be mindful of those. But other than that, he's helping you in a lot of categories.
Yeah, the steals I think are for real. Not the 2.7 that he's had in the last 3 games or whatever, but the steals are for real. He's really I've been impressed that he's improved his jump shot, at least his little mid-range fadeaway that he likes to pull. He pulled at the end of this game a few times, and that shot he's learned to make and is pretty decent at making it. So you hope that that field goal is starting to sneak up, and you're hoping that's for real. I don't expect him to shoot 500 or even 46% like he has in the last couple of weeks, but hopefully it is better than the turd 37% that he shot last year. Granted, that was only on 4 shots per game. But Chris Dunn is definitely the quote unquote point guard of the future in Chicago. So definitely ride him if he's available in any of your leagues. I would pick him up. It's hard to get a guy who gets you around 7 assists and 2 steals. Those are really great numbers, even though he's not a 3-point shooter. Decent rebounds for a point guard as well. So kind of sneaky good in a lot of ways. He should be owned definitely in all leagues.
Yeah, and we saw him block half a shot in 17 minutes a game last year in 78 games. So he blocked a lot of shots last year, and that could be a big boost to you at a guard position too.
Yeah, he's kind of got monster ups. He was guarding Ben Simmons for a while in this game and doing a pretty good job. Ben Simmons actually had to start resorting to just passing over him because he's way taller than Chris Dunn, so it wasn't that effective. But Ben Simmons really did start shying away from taking the ball to the rim with that smaller defender on him, and Chris Dunn is really proving himself that he's a pretty NBA caliber defender. As you can
Well,
tell, there's hope in Chicago after all these months.
well, that's kind of what we thought at the end of last year, right? That the defense looked far ahead of the offense.
Oh yeah, it's good to see that he's been fine. Hoiberg isn't screwing around with his minutes and playing Jerry and Grant. He's actually going with them. Let's talk about another guy who's been has had a surprising few weeks, and that's Alex Lynn, a guy I thought maybe we were done talking about forever. But we have had to monitor the situation in Phoenix with Alex Lynn, Tyson Chandler, and now Greg Monroe. It's been kind of a weird situation where some nights one of those guys just completely doesn't even play. But over the last couple nights, Alex Lynn's been averaging 28 minutes. And here are the lines from those 2 games. 12 and 19 rebounds, 6 assists, 2 steals, and a block. 66% from the field. The other gave 14 points, 14 rebounds, 4 assists, a block, 62% from the field, and perfect from the line, 4 for 4. Is this guy for real, or are we just seeing an anomaly? Anomaly, that's not a word. Are we just seeing we happen to be viewing? It's like when you look out in the sky and you happen to see a shooting star. It's not happening on every freaking day. This isn't a meteor shower. Alex Lynn is not a meteor shower. I'm not really sure where I'm going with this metaphor, but are we just happening to catch Alex Lynn at the right time with these two games.
This situation is probably going to make you want to tear your hair out at some point.
It already is.
Unless they can move Greg Monroe or Tyson Chandler or Alex Len for that matter, which I think they've tried to move all three and have been unsuccessful. I think you're just going to keep seeing one random guy sit out, and they were kind of taking turns there for a hot minute. I realized Alex Len's played in the last 4 games, but he sat out 2 of the 5 games previous to that. And I think they're just going to all kind of keep taking turns of, okay, now it's your turn to sit out, and we're going to split the minutes between the other 2 guys. And so, sure, Len is fine to own, but don't be surprised if there's a random night where he just sits out and get nothing from him.
If you had to so you have to pick up one of these guys. You have to either pick up Greg Monroe, Alex Len, or Tyson Chandler and hold that person for the rest of the year. How would you rank those guys?
That's a tough call there. I think I'd go Monroe, Len, and then Chandler.
Ooh. I thought I was going to disagree with you, but I don't think I can. Monroe and Len are really close, and I think Chandler is a definite third. Simply because, I mean, he's older. He's not going to play as many minutes. But we've said it before. Greg Monroe, when given the time, is a player out of those 3. Len's not really far behind him. Those are elite rebounds you're looking at, and those are really, really hard to come by. Now, Greg Monroe is also, pretty close to giving you elite rebounds in limited minutes as well, and we've seen him do that before. Let me go check out.
I think Tyson Chandler taught Len a few tricks because Tyson Chandler's always been a great rebounder, and
oh yeah,
I mean Len has how many games this year? I mean, just look through the game log here. He's got 15 rebound game, an 18 rebound game, another 18 rebound game, another 18 rebound game. It's like, he's had some really huge games, especially when he's given like 27, 28, 30 minutes a night.
Yeah, and I think if you said, oh, you had to pick one of these guys and they're all getting 30 minutes a night, then I think I might take Alex Len because of that elite rebounding capability in a head-to-head league anyway. In a roto league, I think I'm still leaning towards Greg Monroe. But yeah, I think they're both definitely over Tyson Chandler for sure.
Yeah, Chandler's basically a one category player at this point. I mean, he gives you a boat ton of rebounds and good field goal percentage, but there's almost no attempts, so it's not really helping you that much.
No, not at all. Or Tyson.
He's known for chicken now, not rebounding.
Hello.
Are you there?
Hello.
Can you hear me now?
Hello.
Hello. Hello. Can you hear me now?
Hello.
Hello?
Hello.
Yes.
Hello.
Are
Can
you
you hear me?
there?
Yeah,
Can
I
you
can
hear,
hear you now.
can you hear me now?
Jesus. Wow. What was that about?
I don't know what the hell happened there.
I honestly don't know. What was
I
the
thought
last thing you heard?
um you said something about Tyson Chandler and I made a terrible chicken joke.
Huh.
Did you catch any of that chicken joke?
I caught the chicken joke.
That was it. That was all I heard.
That's
Then
the last
nothing.
thing I heard. Um. Okay. I think I can pick up from there. Just I'll wait a second, then go. That is a terrible joke, and if Tyson Chandler is listening, you can tweet at Tyler how mad you are about that joke at Watsy4444. But there's another player in Phoenix I'd like to talk about too. We're a lot of players in Phoenix to talk about, huh? The backup point guard has been taken over by Isaiah Cannon. Kind of a really strange situation there. Did not see Isaiah Cannon really being signed, let alone replacing Mike James in the rotation, who I believe they kept for some strange reason. What's going on here? He's played 26 minutes in the last two nights, and is surprisingly averaging 16 points, 4.5 rebounds, 6.5 assists, and 1.5 steals. All this for Isaiah Cannon in Phoenix. What should we make of this?
There's a cannonball coming, man.
Cannonball coming.
Um, yeah, what was strange is they bought James out of his two-way contract and made him, brought him up to the regular roster, and then like now all of a sudden he's out of the rotation. I can't say I'm surprised in the sense that I don't think he's a great NBA player, but
It's like a little not a lot of forethought going on there.
has there been? I mean, they drafted two guys who played the exact same position with their two first-round picks in the same draft.
And they have three centers.
It's like their roster is always just a hodgepodge of what. I mean,
Man, they should move the Suns to Seattle. Enough of this.
but yeah, I mean, Cannon has shown streaks where he's been good, and then he usually shows you streaks where he can't make a shot.
And yeah, and this is, I think, all temporary until Devin Booker comes back.
Oh, no doubt about that.
Because I still think, if anything, Isaiah Cannon is getting some of those minutes that will obviously go to Devin Booker. And I also think, Tyler Ulis is still going to be, I would assume, playing the starting point guard on this team. But for some reason, the last two nights, Isaiah Cannon played more minutes than Tyler Ulis.
We saw that with Mike James. You know what I mean? Like they can't decide.
No, now it could be just a stealth or not so stealth tank move on their part, or it could just be pure incompetence. We'll never know which one it is. But if you had Isaiah Cannon sitting in your league right now in a 12-team league, would you go pick him up?
Maybe in a ride the hot hand situation. I mean, I saw the 2 years in Philly where he was. I mean, 1 year he only played 22 games, and then the next year he played 77 for them, played about 25 and a half to 26 minutes a game. He's always a bad shooter. He honestly should just shoot 3-pointers because he can shoot 3-pointers at a little bit above league average, but he stinks at making 2-pointers. But there's not much defensive stats, and it's not like he's going to score 15 points a game. It's going to be like 10, 11, 12. So there's just not a lot to love.
Yeah, and I just don't think what he's doing is sustainable. He's not like a rebound assist guy at this rate. Like you said, he can do these things for limited amount of time, but other than currently with Devin Booker out, ride the hot hand, see what you can get out of him, be ready to drop him at a moment's notice. Deeper leagues, though, I think this is a must pick up here because he will probably be the backup point guard from here on out. And, best case scenario is that they get tired of Mike James or Taylor Lewis completely, or one of those guys gets injured, heaven forbid. I'm not wishing that. And then Isaiah Cannon's the starting point guard. And now you got a starting point guard on a team that you got off the waiver wires in your deeper league. That is definitely worth a pickup.
Well, and I think we've seen in the past, too, that Tyler Ulis's best situation is like a 25-minute roll off the bench. And so, I mean, could Cannon play 23? I mean, I think that's a good possibility regardless. So, Cannon could have some value going down the stretch. Just be prepared for a bad field goal percentage. And Cannon's never met a shot he didn't love. You know what I mean? He's going to check up some attempts.
Oh, he certainly is. I'd like to give props where props is due, Tyler. Ever since you declared that it was okay for Ricky Rubio to return to form, he's starting. It looks like he's starting to get back into the swing of things here. He did have a kind of a crapper against Cleveland, but right after you called him out there, he had a 22-7-5 game. So I do like your theory, and if you listen to the last podcast, we talk more in depth about Ricky Rubio. That Ricky Rubio is historically a slow starter, and he's bound to be picking it up at some point in the season. He is not. I wouldn't leave him for dead by any means.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm in just too much talent to quit.
Yeah. I mean, those steals, those assists, it's hard to not make him standard league relevant if he just, has a little bit of an uptick. He'll probably be standard league relevant. Dennis Smith Jr. on his way back, it sounds like, will be is questionable. Any love for Dennis Smith Jr. from you? I feel like he's a little underwhelming. Those percentages are rough.
Yeah, but I mean, I think we see that with a lot of rookies. I mean, could he potentially pick it up? I mean, I think so. There's some potential here for a kind of second half jump where if he can shoot like 43, 44%, I mean, what are we talking? We're talking like 16 and a half, 17 points, 4 rebounds, 4 assists. Maybe he can shoot up to like 32 minutes and even get those numbers a little higher. There's some potential here for Dennis Smith Jr.
I feel like if you're in a standard league, there's so much on the waiver wire. I know he's a starting point guard. You should probably have every starting point guard, but if you're in a roto league, I don't know how you can touch him. But if you're in a head-to-head league, I don't know. He's not much more of a streamer, in my opinion.
I could see that, especially in a 10-team league. What's crazy about all these rookie point guards is how none of them can shoot free throws.
Yeah, I feel like free throws are down across the board, and maybe it's because I have Russell Westbrook on a few teams who's shooting like an insanely terrible percentage for Russell Westbrook. But it feels like free throws are down across the board.
Well, and what's crazy to me is, I mean, just look at the big rookie point guards. I mean, Lonzo Ball is shooting less than 50% on free throws. Dennis Smith Jr. is shooting in the 60s. I mean, like, it just doesn't seem it doesn't seem like this is a point guard thing. You know what I mean? Like, why are all these point guards now all of a sudden can't make a free throw?
I don't understand it. Do you think it has anything to do with perhaps just throwing out a random theory? Anything to do with the fact that people are taking so many threes now that it's affecting their free throw shot?
Um,
I mean, it doesn't sound like that could happen.
it's a theory.
But
I don't know that it's the right one, but it's a theory. I mean, I like it.
Possibility.
It's a thought.
It certainly
So
is a possibility.
rookie point guards. Here we go. Frank Ntilikina is the best rookie point guard, other than Mike James, who isn't really a rookie. Shooting 72.4%. De'Aaron Fox 69%. Dennis Smith Jr. 66%. Ben Simmons 55.9%. Lonzo Ball 48.6%.
That is really weird. I wonder what that is. I wonder what that's about.
And I mean, it's having some effect on roto leagues in the sense that the field goal or the free throw percentage for all the teams is down a little bit because all these rookies that people wanted are dragging it down.
I know my free throw is surprisingly low for how I drafted. Anyway, I'm not really not a fan of how just abysmal these free throws have been so far this year.
It'll be interesting to follow that trend as the season goes on. That's for sure.
Yeah, we could be seeing. I know we've seen rebounds. You know, elite rebounders are rarer, and now we've seen a little bit of a dip in free throws. I'm just curious if it's all related to everybody shooting threes, because threes are way up.
You would think, though, that if you were a better three-point shooter, you would be a better free throw shooter. Like, historically, right? The worst free throw shooters have been, like, at the basket players, right? Like, back to the basket.
Big men with giant hands who aren't really good at just taking jump shots. But jump shots, guys who hit jump shots are usually good at free throws. And
that's
what always baffles me is Ricky Rubio, who's really good at free throws and bad at shooting.
Well, and I kind of get it, right? Like, some of the misses as far as jump shots could go could just be you don't know when to fire or you have a very slow release, so it gets contested a lot easier. And free throws, I mean, obviously you don't have to worry about that. You can take as much time as you want. No one's guarding you. So you would think every NBA player would be able to hit some semblance of free throws, regardless of how big your hands are. Like, the line doesn't move. You would think with some amount of practice you would be able to. And a lot of it, I understand, is in their head, right? Like, some of those guys, they start missing and then it gets in their head.
Oh yeah, the thing is real, for sure. Like, you can legitimately just forget how to do something.
Well, yeah, and I mean, just confidence. Confidence is a lot of any sport. Just, you know what I mean? Just being supremely confident in yourself.
Let's wrap it up with the Week 10 primer. So Tyler, over on hashtagbasketball.com, every week, almost every week, does a primer for all those streaming leagues out there. So if you're someone who has a weekly lock league, this is a great thing to check out Saturday night, Sunday during the day, and set your league based on a lot of the insight that Tyler brings to this. But if you're in a head-to-head league, daily league, this is a really good article to be watching, to be checking on a couple times during the week, simply because there's always top 10 pickups, and there's always really good ideas on who to play in back-to-backs, and those are the things that really can help swing a week for you. So, is there anything that stands out about Week 10 from your perspective, Tyler?
Well, I mean, we got a wonky schedule with the Christmas games coming up.
Yes, it is a very weird day where like every single team is playing, and then Christmas Day or Christmas Eve, no one plays, and then Christmas Day, It's only a handful of, 10 teams play?
Yeah, so the schedule gets really, really kind of crazy. So Monday, which I mean is today, so you guys won't know this, it's already happened, but there were 10 games. And then Tuesday and Thursday are both very light days, 3 and 5 games. Then Wednesday there's 12. Saturday there's 13. Friday there's 9 games, and then Sunday there's 0. So obviously the schedule's compacted into 6 days this week, and 2 of them and maybe even 3 of them you can pretty much eliminate almost right away because of the high number of games. So it gets a little hard to stream this week.
Yeah, I think it's just one of those things. Everyone's in the same boat. So I'm not sure there's too much of an advantage any one player is going to have over another, I guess, unless you have a lot of people who play on Christmas. But even then, that should actually even out for the most part. Is there any hot pickups that you recommend for this week?
I look at ESPN leagues for this, and we usually talk a lot about Yahoo because I think the ownership percentages are maybe a little better.
Yeah.
The thing that I hate about Yahoo is you can't sort it by team. So if you're looking at you just want to look at, okay, this team is playing a back-to-back, you can't sort their waiver wire by team. And so it makes it very hard to do on Yahoo. So I mean, I've just gone away from doing it just because it's a time-consuming thing. But the goal of the thing is I try to put a whole different range of ownership percentages in the article. A guy I'll point out here that's available he's only owned in 12.1% of ESPN leagues is Michael Kidd-Gilchrist. If you look at his December, which has been 9 games already, he's averaging 12 points, 6.1 rebounds, 1.3 assists, 1.3 steals, 0.4 blocks on 54.7% shooting from the field.
Really?
Now, he doesn't shoot any three-pointers, is a big negative, especially in today's basketball, but he's kind of been picking it up, being the Michael Kidd-Gilchrist of old, and it's mostly just because he's playing more minutes again. So he's a guy that's available in a ton of leagues that you could probably get. Another guy, Josh Richardson, only owned at 11.3% of ESPN leagues. Good for about a block and a steal a game. So if you're looking for defensive stats, there's another guy.
Let's really quick talk about Josh Richardson, because last couple of nights he has gone off 28 points on against the Clippers, and then tonight 26 points. And we're talking like 2 blocks, 3 steals tonight, 3 blocks, 1 steal against the Clippers. Throw in a couple assists, a couple rebounds. Those steal and block numbers are pretty crazy, and he's going to get you a 3. So multiple 3s in the last couple games anyway. Is he someone you should be picking up? And is this a hot hand writing situation that could turn into basically? I mean, this guy's definitely a standard league player if he gets the minutes.
I've been saying that he probably should be owned the whole season, and not too many people are listening to me, I guess, on that. But
apparently not.
I think this guy's always been a guy worth holding just for that block and steal potential alone.
Yeah, it's hard. It's almost impossible to find a guy who can get you a 1-1-1 guy, let alone a over 1-1-1 guy who isn't going to kill you somewhere else. And I mean, it's just impossible to find those guys on the waiver wire. I think you got to pick this guy up.
Yeah, there's a ton of guys who are not really that highly owned that should be picked up. Taurean Prince, another guy I mentioned. I mean, I think I mentioned him every week. He's out there on waiver wires. Joe Ingles still out there, only 39.2% owned. Marcus Smart, he's going to hurt your field goal percentage, but 1.2 steals and half a block with over 5 assists a game. He's a guy worth owning in most leagues. Tadeusz is back and playing. Rodney Hood, John Collins. I mean, all these guys, they're all pretty much standardly relevant guys.
Yeah, it's fairly shocking. Even Rondé Hollis Jefferson is only owned in ESPN in about 62% of leagues.
That's what I mean, and I don't know. Maybe in ESPN there's just some very shallow leagues. I'm not sure how the ownership percentages work.
It could be that. It could be that it's more shallow league central, perhaps.
Or maybe they're just playing in the Mike Catrone leagues, like Western Conference only players. I don't know, like some sort of hybrid craziness.
I got a lot of leagues, but Yahoo was the very first fantasy basketball, I think, like that really put some effort into their website and their application. Now, back in the day, it was still pretty trash because the internet itself, all you kids listening, the internet itself was pretty trash as well. So I think a lot of the old veterans of fantasy basketball, like myself, really tend to like Yahoo more out of nostalgia. And I think that's probably why there are more leagues on Yahoo. That the percentages are a little bit better, more accurate to what you would think you would see when looking at how many people own a player versus ESPN. Now, I will give ESPN, I think they took the user interface up a notch from Yahoo. Yahoo needs to work on that, but the Yahoo leagues, I think, are where the veterans kind of hang out around, and I think that's why I like to use their numbers more than ESPN's.
I will switch it over to Yahoo just for you next week, Michael. How does that sound?
Well, our listener league is on Yahoo, and it's getting interesting.
Surprisingly, the numbers are pretty different. Torian Prince owned in 61% of Yahoo leagues. Oh. I finally figued out how to do it by team on Yahoo, for the record.
It only took you a few minutes. But no, our listener league's still real tight. We have the top 5. It's starting to the cream is starting to rise. The top 5 players, the 5th place player, is only 4 games out of first, followed by We the North, who is 9.5 games out of first and 6th place. So you're starting to see that separation between the greats and the not so greats. So, everybody there at the bottom, in the bottom half, pick it up a little bit. Unless you're playing me this week, and then you feel free to tank, sit all your players. It's okay with me. I do not mind winning cheap.
Michael, always trying to get people to tank for you.
Listen, hey, tanking is in right now. So if you want to be trendy, feel free to tank.
Michael.
Let's throw out some respect though. Sloan Ranger ended up taking first over last week, and LeBron's hairline with an 8-1 finish last week skyrocketed his ass all the way to 2nd place.
We were ragging on LeBron's hairline just a couple weeks ago, and now he's beating us both. I mean,
yeah, we probably maybe we should not have shitted all over LeBron's hairline and leave that to LeBron's barber. I think that is it. See, that was a good joke. I think that is it for tonight. Tyler, you got anything else you want to plug?
No, that's about it, man.
All right, that's it for me as well. You can tweet at me at WatchTheBoxes or Tyler at Watsy4444 if you like what you're hearing. Guys, rate and review us on whatever platform you happen to listen to this podcast. Or tweet at us with feedback, stuff you want to hear on the podcast. If you want to hear more Roto stuff, more Dynasty stuff, more keeper values, stuff like that, hey, we'll do it. We have a very high rate of return if you just get a hold of us and let us know what you want to hear on the show. And if you got questions about your team, feel free to tweet us about that stuff as well. And if you play daily sports, any of those daily fantasy sites, I think you'd like draft.com. I know I do a lot better than those other daily sites because it's very different. You do a snake draft once a day, and if that sounds appealing to you, or if you're not very good at other daily sites, because I wasn't very good at the other daily sites, I'm kind of good at this one. Draft.com is a lot more, I think, fantasy friendly when it comes to people who play real. And that's right, I said real fantasy basketball. Daily fantasy is not real fantasy basketball. I probably shouldn't say that when one of our sponsors is a daily fantasy site, but I'm saying it is more like fantasy. And if you use the promo code BOXES, you will get a free game. The first game you play when you sign up on draft.com. You can sign up online or download the app in whatever app store you like to frequent. I think that's it. Tyler, good talking to you, sir. And I think we will see you soon. But if we don't, everybody, have a great Christmas. And we'll see you after the break.